Dry brushing is all the craze right now, and it's not just a hygiene thing, it's actually very useful in watercolor. As a matter of fact, this sketchbook that I finished that I showed you guys, a few of you spied this painting and you wanted to know how I did it. And this painting uses a bunch of dry brushing, so we're gonna explore how to do that today. Grab your watercolors and give them a good spritz. And for this first step, you're gonna wanna scrap a paper towel handy. Then we're gonna take a clean wet brush and we're gonna fill it with blue, and we're gonna make a strip across the top of the paper. Then we're gonna re-dip into water and we're gonna bring that down a bit. Re-dip into water, bring that down a bit. We're making it lighter as it comes down towards the horizon. Once you get about halfway down the page, it should be really light in color. Then we're gonna take that scrap of paper towel, and on the rip side, we're gonna lift out some different clouds. And if you wanna get a little extra fancy with it, you can fill your brush with just clean water, and you can actually drop it into that wet area, and it will help kind of bloom things away. I find doing this helps create those big fluffy clouds. And then we need to let it dry or make it dry. Now, once your sky is dry, it's time to make our mountains. And in order to make our mountains have some texture and maybe appear like there's some snow on them, we're going to be using dry brushing. And in order to do this, we're going to start by filling our brush with the color that we want our mountains to be. Now, instead of just going straight onto the paper, because if we do that, it's going to be a nice solid line of color, we actually want to take a rag or paper towel and we're going to tap off our brush. And then with a very light touch and just a little bit of that color in here, it's almost dry, but not quite, we can swipe lightly across the page and that texture of the paper is going to show through. And as a matter of fact, I recommend doing this a few times on some scrap paper so you can figure out that level of wet versus dry that you want your brush to be. And once you've got that dialed in, we want to make some very strategic light swoops across the page using that dry brushing technique so that we get that texture and kind of that snowy appearance for our layer of mountains. Then we're going to wash our brush and we're going to put a super light green color in, and we're going to kind of swipe that in the background to make a bit of a distant meadow. And then we're going to refill our brush with a slightly more concentrated green color. Again, we're going to tap it off so we can get that dry brushing effect, and we're going to make another swoopy hill in the foreground that's going to be our closest meadow. I'm going to do that a couple different times, changing the color that's in my brush and then tapping it off so I can encourage it to do some of that dry brushing until I'm happy with the variation in the meadow. And then while that area is still a little bit wet, I'm going to wash my brush and then I'm going to alternate dipping between some pink and some yellow and dropping in some little dots into that foreground meadow to allude to some spring wildflower blooms. And just like that, dry brushing has really been the star of the show, and it's helped us create this snowy springtime wildflower scene.